At 19 years old, my parents stood in my bedroom doorway with 2 packed bags and told me I was leaving for military school in the morning. Not college, not the university I had already been accepted into, not the campus I had visited with tears in my eyes because, for the first time in my life, I thought I was finally going somewhere that belonged to me. Military school. My mother said it would build discipline. My father said it would make me stronger. My brother Marcus stood behind them, leaning against the hallway wall, smiling like he had just watched someone move his biggest problem out of the way. I should have known then. But I was 19, confused, heartbroken, and still foolish enough to believe parents could be harsh without being cruel. My name is Naomi Bennett, and that night, I did not know my parents had already emptied the college fund my grandmother left for me. $1 million. Not all in cash at once. It was a protected education and trust account my grandmother Ruth Bennett had built carefully before she died. She had worked for decades as a hotel manager, then invested in small rental properties, then sold land at the perfect time. She was not flashy. She wore simple dresses, cooked her own food, and reused glass jars. People underestimated her because she did not look rich. But Grandma Ruth was the smartest person in our family, and she loved me in a way that made me feel seen. Before she died, she told me, "Naomi, your mind is a door. Don't let anyone lock it because they are afraid of where it will take you." She left money for my education, business school, graduate school if I wanted it, living expenses, professional development, a safety net so I would never have to beg anyone for permission to become myself. That was the plan. But my parents had another plan. Marcus had failed out of college twice. He had started 3 businesses before turning 24, and all of them collapsed before earning enough to pay for the printer ink used in their logos. The first was a sneaker resale business. The second was a car import idea that imported nothing but stress. The third was a luxury lifestyle brand that consisted of hoodies, a website with spelling mistakes, and my mother telling everyone Marcus was close to something big. He was always close. Close to success, close to maturity, close to turning things around, close to becoming the man my parents had already decided he was, and I was always already there, already responsible, already smart, already capable, already strong enough to survive disappointment. So when Marcus needed money, my future became available. They did not tell me that. They told me I needed military school. That I had become too proud, too independent, too disrespectful, too focused on leaving the family behind. My acceptance letter to Whitmore University was on my desk when my father lifted my suitcase from the floor. I had received a full admission offer into their international business program. The school was expensive, but Grandma Ruth's fund made it possible. I wanted to study finance, operations, and hospitality development. I wanted to build something that outlived family chaos. My mother picked up the acceptance letter and folded it slowly. "You think this paper makes you better than us?" she said. I stared at her. "No, I think it means I got in." My father's face hardened. "Your attitude is exactly why this decision is necessary." "What decision?" He placed the suitcase near the door. "You leave tomorrow." My stomach dropped. "Leave where?" "Blackwood Military Academy." I laughed because I thought I had heard wrong. "What?" "It is a structured leadership school," my mother said quickly. "Not punishment." "Military school?" My father said, "You need discipline before college." I'm 19, and acting like you know everything. I looked at Marcus. He looked away, but not before I caught the smile. That small smile. That was the first crack where the truth tried to enter. "Why is he smiling?" I asked. My mother snapped, "Do not drag your brother into this." "He is standing in my hallway." Marcus raised both hands. "I'm just here." Number. He was never just there. Marcus was always standing close to the benefit while pretending he had nothing to do with the harm. I turned back to my father. "What about Whitmore?" "You can apply again later," he said. "I already accepted." We declined. The room went quiet. My ears rang. You what? My mother looked at the floor. My father repeated, We declined. You cannot decline for me. I'm an adult. You were still listed under our household, and your mother has access to the family email. Family email. The one my mother insisted we all use for important things when I was younger. My acceptance. My housing forms. My scholarship portal. My future. I grabbed my laptop from the desk, opened it with shaking hands, and logged in. There it was. A message sent 2 days earlier. Thank you for the opportunity, but I will not be attending Whitmore University this fall due to family and personal reasons. My name typed at the bottom. Naomi Bennett. But I had not written it. For a moment, I could not breathe. My mother said, Baby, don't look like that. I turned slowly. You sent this? She pressed her lips together. You were not thinking clearly. I was not thinking clearly. You were becoming arrogant. I got accepted to college. My father said, Enough. No, not enough. You forged my email. He flinched at the word forged. Good. Some words are mirrors. My mother began crying. You always use harsh language. What soft language should I use for stealing my future? Marcus finally spoke. Naomi, it's just 1 year. I turned to him. His face carried fake concern so badly it almost looked painful. Why do you care? He shrugged. I'm saying maybe it'll help you. Help me do what? Calm down. That was when I understood that everyone had already agreed on my role. I was the problem. Not the parents who had sent a false email. Not the brother who kept needing family rescue. Me. The daughter who asked questions. My father lifted the suitcase again. We leave at 6. I'm not going. His eyes narrowed. Yes, you are. I am an adult. You live in my house. I looked around my bedroom, the room that had never felt fully mine. The walls painted pale yellow because my mother liked that color. The desk Grandma Ruth bought me. The suitcase packed with clothes I had not chosen. My acceptance letter folded in my mother's hand. I realized then that being legally grown did not matter when you had no money in your own account, no car in your name, no place to go, and parents willing to call control love. My mother softened her voice. Naomi, one day you will thank us. I stared at her. No, one day you will explain this. She looked away. She already knew she could not. The next morning, they drove me to Blackwood Military Academy. It was not a prison. I want to be clear about that. It was a real institution, with uniforms, strict schedules, leadership classes, physical training, academic courses, and young adults from families who believed discipline could fix everything from grief to rebellion to bad grades to embarrassment. Some students chose it. Some needed structure. Some had made serious mistakes and were trying to reset. And some, like me, had been sent there because their families wanted them out of the way. The campus sat behind high black gates in Virginia, surrounded by pine trees and cold stone buildings. Everything looked sharp, clean, controlled. Even the grass seemed afraid to grow too freely. My father signed papers. My mother cried like she was the one being abandoned. Marcus did not come. Of course, he had what he needed at home. Before leaving, my father handed me a small envelope. Your monthly allowance. I opened it. $200. My college fund can pay for my needs, I said. My father's face changed. Only for a second. But I saw it. The fund is being managed, he said. By who? Your mother and me. It was left for me. And we are acting in your best interest. My mother hugged me tightly. Too tightly. I love you, she whispered. I stood stiff in her arms. Love had become a confusing language in our house. Then they left. I watched their car disappear beyond the gates. And for the first time, I felt something I had never felt before. Not fear, not sadness, not even anger. A clean, cold understanding. My parents had not sent me there to build discipline. They had sent me there to remove me from the room where my money was being stolen. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if your family has ever called your punishment for your own good while quietly using your absence to benefit someone else. Stay with me, because sometimes the place they send you to break you becomes the place that teaches you how to fight back. Blackwood Military Academy did not care about my heartbreak. That was the first thing I learned. The morning after arrival, lights came on at 5 a.m. A whistle blew. Someone shouted in the hallway. I sat up confused, still dreaming of my yellow bedroom, Grandma Ruth's hands, and the Whitmore campus I would not be walking that fall. My roommate, Elena Grant, threw a pillow at me. "Get up unless you want Sergeant Vale making an example out of you." I blinked. What? Uniform. 10 minutes. Move. Elena was 20, from Chicago, sharp-eyed, and already familiar with the academy's rhythm. She had come voluntarily after dropping out of college and getting tired of disappointing herself. She was not warm at first, but she was fair. I needed fair more than warm. The first weeks were brutal, not in some movie way, no dramatic battlefield nonsense, just relentless structure. Wake before sunrise. Make bed perfectly. Inspection. Physical training. Breakfast. Classes. Drills. Leadership exercises. Study hours. Chores. Lights out. No long calls. Limited personal devices. Strict conduct rules. Consequences for lateness. Consequences for messy spaces. Consequences for excuses. At first, I hated everything. The uniform scratched my neck. My feet blistered. My body ached. I cried in the shower where the water covered the sound. I wrote letters to my parents that I never sent because every sentence became accusation. I called home twice the first month. My mother cried and said, "You sound stronger already." I said, "I sound tired." My father said, "Good. Hard work humbles people." I asked about the college fund. He said, "We will discuss that when you are ready." Ready. A word adults use when they mean obedient. Marcus never got on the phone. Once, I heard him laughing in the background. That laughter became fuel. The academy changed me, but not in the way my parents wanted. They wanted submission. I learned strategy. They wanted silence. I learned documentation. They wanted me out of the way. I learned how systems worked when people could not charm their way around rules. Blackwood had a finance office, a records office, a legal liaison, and a student advocacy counselor. For the first time, I saw authority written down instead of shouted across a dinner table. If someone punished you, there was a form. If someone moved your class, there was a record. If someone used funds, there was a statement. If someone claimed permission, there had to be proof. Proof. That word became holy to me. One afternoon during administrative studies, an instructor named Captain Denise Carter taught a class on personal finance, contracts, and power of attorney. She stood at the front of the room and said, "Many families confuse access with authority. They are not the same." I stopped writing. "Access with authority." She continued, "Your parent may know your password. That does not always mean they have legal authority. Your sibling may benefit from an account. That does not mean they own it. Your name on a document matters. So does your signature. So does capacity. So does consent." My heart started pounding. After class, I approached her. "Captain Carter?" "Yes, Bennett." "If a trust was left for education, who can change how it is used?" She studied me. "That depends on the trust language. What if parents are managing it?" "Managers still have duties. What if they are using it for someone else?" Her face became serious. "Then you need documents." I swallowed. "How do I get them?" She did not ask too many questions. Good teachers know when a student is standing at the edge of a truth. She wrote down 3 things: trust document, account statements, trustee names. Then she said, "Start there, and do not accuse before you have paper. Do not accuse before you have paper." That became my first rule. I began requesting records. At first, politely. I emailed my mother. Can you please send me a copy of Grandma Ruth's education trust documents? I need them for future college planning. No reply for 3 days. Then, your father is handling that. Focus on your program. I emailed my father. I need the trust documents and account statements for my records. He replied, we will discuss this when you come home on winter break. I wrote back, please send them now. I am legally an adult and the named beneficiary. No response. So I went to student advocacy. The counselor, Mr. Alvarez, was a retired military officer with kind eyes and the patience of a man who had heard every version of family control. He listened while I explained. Not everything. Enough. He asked, do you have identification documents? Yes. Birth certificate? I think my parents have it. Social security card? They have it. Bank account? Joint with my mother. He sighed softly. Not in judgment. In recognition. First step, he said. We get your identity back. That sentence made me cry. I had not realized how much of me was still stored in other people's drawers. With his help, I ordered copies of my documents. I opened a bank account in my own name. I changed passwords. I created a new email address. I updated school records. I requested credit reports. Then came the first shock. There was a credit card in my name. Opened when I was 18. Balance, $14,870. I had never opened it. The mailing address was my parents' house. My hands shook so badly Mr. Alvarez took the paper gently from me. Breathe, he said. I could not. Because suddenly the military school was not the worst thing they had done. It was the hiding place. The card had charges from office supply stores, website builders, airline tickets, hotel stays, restaurant bills, and something called Bennett Legacy Ventures. Marcus. Of course. Mr. Alvarez said, Naomi, you need an attorney. I can't afford one. Sometimes the right attorney sees the value of a case before the client can pay. That was how I met Vivian Hart. She was not connected to my family, not connected to the academy. She came recommended by Captain Carter, who had once watched Vivian destroy a fraudulent guardianship case in court with what she called polite fire. Vivian's office was small but sharp. Bookshelves, navy walls, framed degrees, a desk so clean it made Liz nervous. I sat across from her during my first weekend leave, wearing my academy uniform because I had nothing else professional. She read the credit report, then my acceptance documents, then the emails declining Whitmore, then my grandmother's obituary, then the little I had about the education trust. When she looked up, her eyes had changed. Naomi, she said, how old were you when your grandmother died? 17. Who managed the trust? My parents, I think. You think? They never explained. Do you have any account statements? No. Do you have proof the military academy is being paid from the trust? I froze. I don't know. She nodded slowly. Then we begin with records. Quietly. Quietly. That was important. I wanted to call my mother and scream. I wanted to call Marcus and ask if he enjoyed spending my future. I wanted to drive home, stand in the living room, and demand every document. Vivian said no. Anger alerts people, she said. Records corner them. So we requested documents legally. Trust records, accountings, education disbursements, credit card applications, signatures, school payment source, email activity. My parents ignored the first request, then delayed, then claimed they were protecting Naomi from stress. Vivian smiled when she read that. Good. They are using soft language. That usually means hard facts exist. The academy year continued while the case quietly began. I trained, studied, Worked part-time in the campus admin office. Learned accounting basics. Read every document Vivian gave me. Learned the difference between trustee, beneficiary, custodian, authorized user, and owner. Learned that people who control documents often control the story. I also learned I was stronger than my parents had intended. Not because I stopped hurting. Because I started moving while hurt. Elena became my closest friend. She knew pieces of the story. One night, while polishing boots in our room, she said, "Your brother sounds like a professional emergency." I laughed so hard I nearly cried. "He is." "And you were the emergency fund?" "Yes." She nodded. "Not anymore. Not anymore." Those two words became another kind of prayer. By winter break, my parents expected me home. My mother called 2 weeks before. "I hope this experience has helped you reflect." "It has," I said. She sounded pleased. "We are excited to see you. Will Marcus be there?" "Of course." "Good." She paused. "Why good?" "Because Vivian will be joining us." Silence. Then, "Who is Vivian?" "My attorney." The silence changed. It became thick. My mother whispered, "Naomi, what have you done?" I looked at the academy courtyard through the window. Cold air. Students marching. Flags moving in winter wind. What had I done? I had gotten my identity back. I had opened my own bank account. I had found the credit card. I had asked for records. I had stopped crying in showers and started building a file. So I said, "I grew up." She hung up. When I returned home for winter break, everything looked smaller. The house, the hallway, the dining table, the living room where Marcus had been praised for breathing ambitiously. My mother hugged me too tightly. My father shook my hand like we were business partners. Marcus sat on the couch wearing a designer hoodie I was almost certain my stolen credit had helped buy. "Military girl," he said, smirking. I looked at him. "Debt boy." His smile disappeared. My mother gasped. "Naomi." I walked into the dining room and placed my bag down. Vivian arrived 10 minutes later. She wore a gray suit and carried a folder thick enough to make my father's eyes narrow. "Mr. and Mrs. Bennett," she said pleasantly. "Marcus." Marcus frowned. "You don't get to use my first name." Vivian looked at him. "Wonderful. We are already establishing boundaries." We sat at the dining table. The same table where years of decisions had been made around me, over me, and without me. This time, I sat with legal counsel. My father tried to take control first. "Naomi, bringing an attorney into family matters is very disappointing." Vivian opened her folder. "Using a child's education trust for unauthorized purposes is also disappointing. We all manage feelings differently." My mother began crying immediately. "That is not what happened." Vivian looked at her. "Excellent. Then the records should comfort everyone." My father's jaw tightened. "What exactly are you accusing us of?" I spoke before Vivian could. "No, that is not how this works. I am asking for a full accounting of Grandma Ruth's trust, copies of all trust documents, all disbursements, and explanations for why a credit card was opened in my name." Marcus stood. "I don't have to sit here for this." Vivian did not look up. "If you leave, I will assume you prefer written discovery." He sat. My mother whispered, "We did everything for the family." I looked at her. "No, you did everything for Marcus and called me family when you needed cover." She cried harder. My father said, "Your brother needed help. And I needed college. You were not ready. You declined my acceptance behind my back. We made a parental decision. I was 19. You were living under our roof." Vivian slid a copy of the forged email across the table. "And yet the university believed the message came from Naomi. That will be one of several issues." My father looked at the paper and said nothing. Marcus snapped. "It's not like she can't go to college later." I turned to him. "You used my money." He laughed. "I used family resources. Say my money." He rolled his eyes. "Naomi, you didn't earn that money. Grandma left it. She left it to me." She would have helped me too. Then why didn't she? That hit hard. His face changed. My mother said, "That was cruel." "No, Mom. Cruel was sending me away so he could spend my future." The room went silent. Then my father said the sentence that confirmed everything. Marcus is the son. He needed capital to build something for the Bennett name. There it was. Not hidden anymore. Not dressed. The son needed capital. The daughter needed discipline. I looked at my father for a long time. Then I nodded. "Thank you." He frowned. "For what?" "For finally saying it clearly." Vivian gathered the papers. "We will proceed formally." My mother reached for my hand. "Naomi, please don't destroy this family." I looked at her hand but did not take it. "You should have said that before you used my name on debt," she whispered. "I didn't know about the credit card." Marcus looked away. My father's face went still. That was new. My mother looked at Marcus. "Marcus?" He said nothing. The credit card was the crack between them. Until then, my mother could call the trust misuse family sacrifice. But a card in my name? Charges tied to Marcus? That sounded less like sacrifice and more like fraud, because that is what it was. The next months were ugly. My parents tried to pressure me. Relatives called. Aunt Linda said, "Maybe there is more to the story." I replied, "There is. That is why we are getting records." Cousin Denise said, "Your mother is not sleeping." I said, "Neither was I at military school after discovering stolen debt." Silence. Good. Marcus sent angry messages. "You think you're better than me because you have a lawyer." I replied, "No, I think I'm safer." Then blocked him. The records came slowly, but they came. And the truth was worse than I imagined. Grandma Ruth's education fund had been worth slightly over $1 million when she died. It was structured for my education, housing, training, and early career development. My parents had limited authority as trustees until I turned 21 or entered a qualified university program, whichever came first. They were required to use funds for my benefit. They did not. Some money paid legitimate expenses connected to me. Private tutoring, test prep, application fees, a few academy payments after they sent me away. But large amounts had been moved. Consulting fees to Marcus's failed ventures, loans to Bennett Legacy Ventures, a down payment on a warehouse lease Marcus abandoned, marketing packages, travel, legal setup for his companies, payments to vendors, transfers marked Family Strategic Investment. Family Strategic Investment. I stared at that phrase until I hated every word. There were also suspicious signatures, not perfect forgeries. Lazy ones. Forms claiming I approved certain transfers. I had not. Vivian called them audaciously stupid, which became one of my favorite phrases. The credit card application had been submitted online using my personal information. The email contact was one Marcus controlled. The phone number was his second line. Payments had been made for a while from family accounts, then stopped when cash got tight. That debt was mine on paper, his in truth. We filed. Civil claims first. Breach of fiduciary duty. Conversion. Fraud. Identity misuse. Demand for accounting. Injunction against further trust movement. Credit dispute. Potential criminal referral held in reserve, not because Vivian was soft, but because strategy matters. My parents reacted like victims. My mother called crying. "Naomi, your father could lose everything." I lost Whitmore. Your brother could be ruined. He used my name. We were trying to build something. With my future. She whispered, "I am still your mother. And I am still Grandma Ruth's beneficiary." She hung up. My father sent a long email about family legacy, sacrifice, and how young people today do not understand collective responsibility. Vivian responded with one sentence. "Please preserve all financial records, communications, passwords, devices, and documents relating to the Ruth Bennett Education Trust and any accounts opened in Naomi Bennett's name. He did not write again for 2 weeks. I returned to Blackwood after winter break different. People noticed. Elena said, "You walk mean now." I walk documented. She laughed. But it was true. I was still hurt, still grieving Whitmore, still angry, still waking up some nights with my chest tight. But something had shifted. My parents had sent me away, thinking discipline would make me easier to control. Instead, discipline made me harder to manipulate. I completed the year at Blackwood, not because my parents sent me, because I decided to finish what I had started. I became top of my cohort in administrative leadership. I learned logistics, finance systems, compliance, and strategic planning. Captain Carter wrote me a recommendation letter that made me cry. She wrote, "Naomi Bennett has learned the difference between obedience and discipline. She does not confuse them." That sentence stayed with me forever. With Vivian's help, I reapplied to Whitmore. The admissions office was shocked when I explained that my earlier withdrawal had not been authorized by me. They could not simply restore my original place, but they reviewed my case, my Blackwood records, and Captain Carter's recommendation. I was accepted again, 1 year later than planned, but mine. This time, all communications went to my new email. All accounts were in my control. All documents reviewed by Vivian. The court case and trust dispute settled before trial, though not quietly. My parents agreed to repay misused funds through property liens, retirement account restructuring, and liquidation of certain assets. Marcus's business assets, what little existed, were included. The credit card debt was removed from my name after investigation, and Marcus became responsible for repayment through a settlement arrangement. My trust was placed under an independent trustee. My parents lost control. That was the real punishment. Not public shame, not money, control, gone. Marcus exploded when the settlement was signed. He came to the courthouse hallway, red-eyed and furious. "You destroyed me." I looked at him. "No, I audited you." He pointed at me. "You always hated me." "No, Marcus. I envied you. Then I pitied you. Now I simply understand you." He looked thrown by that. "You think you're so smart. I think Grandma was." His mouth twisted. She should have left it to both of us. But she didn't. He stepped closer. Vivian appeared beside me like thunder wearing pearls. "Take one more step, Mr. Bennett. I'm having a slow day." He stepped back. "Good." My mother stood near the wall, crying softly. My father looked hollow. For the first time, nobody rushed to comfort Marcus. That was when I knew the family system had cracked. At Whitmore University, I was older than most students, but not old. 20, then 21. Still young, but marked by experience in a way campus could not fully understand. While other students complained about dining hall food, I studied trust law basics for fun. While they argued about roommate drama, I checked my credit reports monthly. While they joked about parents paying tuition late, I learned how independent trustees worked. I did not waste college. I treated every class like someone had tried to steal it from me, because they had. Finance, operations, hospitality strategy, business law, negotiation, ethics, systems management. I worked part-time in the admissions office and later interned with a hotel development firm. By graduation, I had a job offer and a plan. Not just for money. For power over my own life. My parents came to graduation. I allowed it after many conversations with Vivian and my therapist. Yes, therapist. Because legal victory does not remove emotional bruises automatically. My mother cried when she saw me in my cap and gown. My father looked proud and ashamed at the same time. Marcus did not come. Good. After the ceremony, my mother hugged me. "I am proud of you," she whispered. I stood still, then said, "I know you are, but pride after obstruction is complicated." She cried harder. "I know." My father said, "Naomi, I am sorry." For what specifically? I asked. He closed his eyes. By then, he knew the question. For declining Whitmore without your consent, for sending you away, for using your grandmother's trust for Marcus, for believing his dreams mattered more than yours, for calling control discipline, for failing as trustee and father. The words were heavy, late, but real. I nodded. I hear you. That was all I could give. My mother's apology took longer to become clean. At first, she still tried to make herself less guilty. I thought we were helping the family. I was afraid Marcus would fall apart. I didn't understand the legal side. I trusted your father. Each sentence had a little hook. Then one day, years later, she came to my apartment with a small wooden box. Inside were Grandma Ruth's old recipe cards and a photo of us together. I kept these, she said. I don't deserve to, but I did. I took the box. She sat at my kitchen table and cried. I was jealous of how your grandmother loved you, she whispered. That stunned me. What? She saw you, she saved for you, she trusted you. I told myself she was unfair to Marcus, but really, I hated that she protected something I could not control. The truth entered the room softly. Ugly, but soft. She continued. I sent you away because I was afraid of the woman you would become with that money and that school. Marcus needed help, yes, but I also wanted you humbled. My throat tightened. For what? For leaving us behind. I had not left. I know, but I felt you would. That was the wound under the crime. Still not an excuse. But finally, an explanation that made sense. She said, I am sorry. For being your mother and still competing with your future. I cried, then, not because everything healed, because truth, when it finally stops dodging, can make even old pain breathe differently. I built my career slowly. Then, quickly. I started in hotel operations, moved into distressed hospitality assets, then launched Bennett Hospitality Recovery, a firm that helped failing hotels, resorts, and family-owned properties restructure without destroying workers. My Blackwood training helped more than I expected. Discipline, systems, command structure, accountability, documentation, clear authority, no vague family planning, no emotional management without paper. I became known for walking into broken hotels and finding both the financial leak and the human one. Underpaid staff, bad managers, owner theft, family disputes, hidden debts, misused funds, unsafe systems. I saw versions of my own story everywhere. A daughter managing a motel while her brother carried the title. A widow whose son tried to sell the inn without telling her. A family trust being drained for a favorite grandchild. A young woman removed from decision-making because she was too emotional, though she was the only one who understood the books. I helped them with operations. Then I connected them to lawyers like Vivian. Bennett Hospitality Recovery grew. One office became two. Then national contracts. Then speaking events. Then a profile in a business magazine with the headline, Sent Away at 19, Naomi Bennett built an empire of accountability. Empire was too dramatic, but I did not hate it. Marcus saw the article. Of course he did. He called from a number I did not recognize. I answered by mistake. Naomi. I almost hung up. What? I saw the article. Congratulations. He sighed. I deserved that. Yes. Silence. Then he said, I'm sorry. I waited. He continued. For taking the money, for letting mom and dad send you away, for using your name on the card, for pretending it was family money, for acting like my dreams gave me rights to your future. That was the first apology from Marcus that did not sound like a loan application. I sat down. Why now? He exhaled. Because my son just got accepted into a program. I caught myself saying his sister might need to sacrifice so we could afford it. My stomach turned. And I heard Dad's voice come out of my mouth. I closed my eyes. That was how patterns survive. Not through villains only. Through unexamined sentences. What did you do? I apologized to her. Then I called you. I looked toward my office wall where Grandma Ruth's letter was framed. Good. I can't repay what I took. No. I know. But you can stop becoming Dad. He was quiet. Then said, I'm trying. For the first time in years, I believed him a little. My parents grew older. Accountability changed them, but not perfectly. No one becomes healthy just because they lost control of a trust. My father still leaned toward Marcus at times. My mother still cried when boundaries appeared. But they learned, slowly. They asked before accessing anything. They stopped using family as a financial password around me. They gave me documents before asking advice. They admitted, sometimes painfully, that Grandma Ruth had been right to protect my future from them. At a family dinner years later, my niece asked why I went to military school. The table went silent. My mother looked down. My father looked at me. Marcus swallowed. I answered calmly. I was sent there when I was young, because the adults around me thought discipline meant control. But I learned real discipline there, and it helped me build my life. My niece frowned. Were you bad? I smiled sadly. No, baby. I was inconvenient. My mother started crying. Not loudly. Marcus closed his eyes. My father whispered, Naomi. I looked at him. She asked, and I would not lie to another girl to protect family comfort. That night after dinner, my father stood beside me on the porch. You could have said worse, he said. Yes. Thank you. Don't thank me for editing harm. He nodded. You're right. We stood in silence. Then he said, Your grandmother knew us better than we knew ourselves. Yes, I said. She did. When I turned 35, I created the Ruth Bennett Door Fund. It supported young adults, especially daughters, whose education money had been controlled, misused, or withheld by family members. We helped them get legal consults, financial education, identity documents, credit repair, school reentry support, and emergency housing when leaving controlling homes. At the first event, I told part of my story. Not all. Some pain belongs in smaller rooms. But enough, I said. At 19, I thought I was being sent away from my future. What I did not know was that I was being sent toward the tools I would need to reclaim it. But no young person should have to become a detective to use money left for their education. The room stood. Vivian cried. She denied it. Elena from Blackwood came too. She stood in the back, clapping like she had always known I would survive. Captain Carter sent a video message. She said, Discipline without consent is control. Discipline with purpose is freedom. I cried then, because that was my life in one sentence. Years later, Blackwood invited me to speak to students. I almost refused. The place carried old pain. The gates, the dorms, the whistle, the smell of polished floors and pine trees. But I went, not for my parents, not for the academy's image, for the 19-year-old girl who had arrived there feeling discarded. I stood in the auditorium facing students in uniform. Some looked bored, some tired, some angry, some scared, some exactly like I had been. I told them, you may not have chosen every circumstance that brought you here, but you can choose what you learn while you are here. Learn systems, learn records, learn self-command, learn the difference between someone controlling you and you controlling yourself. A young woman approached me afterward. Her eyes were full of tears. My parents control my college money, she whispered. I handed her Vivian's card. Vivian later told me, stop distributing me like emergency candy. But she helped the girl. Of course she did. My parents sent me to military school at 19 so my brother could use my $1 million college fund. They thought distance would make me weaker. It made me observant. They thought structure would make me obedient. It made me strategic. They thought removing me from college would delay my future. It taught me how to protect it. They thought Marcus could build something with stolen capital. He built debt, shame, and eventually, one honest apology. They thought Grandma Ruth's plan could be rewritten because she was no longer alive to defend me. They forgot she had already defended me with documents, and I learned how to read them. If you are listening and someone in your family controls your money, documents, school access, email, identity papers, bank account, credit, inheritance, or future, hear me clearly. Get records. Get copies. Get your own email. Get your own bank account when you legally can. Check your credit. Read every document. Do not assume love equals legal protection. Do not assume parents cannot misuse your information. Do not assume siblings who benefit from your silence will tell the truth. Do not accuse before paper if paper can be gathered. But once you have truth, do not let them call it disrespect. Asking for your own documents is not betrayal. Protecting your education is not arrogance. Wanting the future someone left for you is not selfish. And refusing to sacrifice your life for the favorite child is not cruelty. Family should not require your erasure. A brother's dream should not cost a sister's door. A parent's fear should not become a child's cage, and discipline should never be used as a mask for theft. Today, Whitmore University has my name on a scholarship wall because the Ruth Bennett Door Fund partners with them for students returning after interrupted education. Every year, I meet young people who thought they were late. I tell them what I wish someone had told me. You are not late. You were delayed. There is a difference. Late carries shame. Delayed carries evidence. Delayed means something happened. Delayed means there may be a way forward. Delayed means you can still arrive. I arrived. Not the way I planned. Not at 19 with fresh notebooks and a simple heart. I arrived with legal files, military discipline, sharper eyes, and scars that turned into systems. But I arrived. My parents no longer manage anything of mine. Not accounts, not documents, not passwords, not emotions. Marcus and I are not close, but we are honest enough to stand in the same room without pretending history was lighter than it was. My mother keeps Grandma Ruth's photo on her mantle now, and sometimes I wonder if she apologizes to it when no one is listening. My father once told me, I thought I was preserving the Bennett name. I told him, Grandma preserved it better by trusting the daughter you underestimated. He nodded. No argument. That was growth. In my office, I keep 3 framed things. My original Whitmore acceptance letter, the Blackwood completion certificate, and Grandma Ruth's words. Your mind is a door. Don't let anyone lock it because they are afraid of where it will take you. For a while, they locked it. Or tried to. They sent me away. They used the money. They gave Marcus the capital. They thought the door would stay closed. But doors remember their purpose. So do daughters. My name is Naomi Bennett. At 19, they sent me away so my brother could use my college fund. By 35, I had recovered the money, rebuilt the path, exposed the theft, finished school, built a company, and opened doors for other young women whose futures had been treated like family property. They wanted me disciplined. I became dangerous with documents, and that was the one lesson they never meant to pay for.